So, what did we do thus far in the area of recognizing the demonic and how to deal with it? We have been talking about the three main open doors, meaning idolatry, all kind of occult stuff, and I might even specify that. Adultery and incest or sexual sins. And thirdly, murder and abortion. Then we have been talking about the effect of rape. So when somebody abuses you and you get unclean spirits. We have been talking about the area of soul ties that can bring demonization to you, that will bring demonization to you. And so now we come to a very different kind of open door. And we're going to talk now about trauma. What is trauma in this teaching? What is trauma? Trauma is a situation in which you lose control, a situation of complete panic. So to explain, there's a husband and wife, and in the morning, the husband leaves the home with the car, going to his workplace, his wife waves at him, and half an hour later, a police car stops in front of the door. They ring the doorbell, and the woman comes, and the police officers look very sad and very serious, and they inform the woman, there has been a traffic accident, and your husband has died. At that moment, your world collapses. Whatever is in your hand, you drop it. And there's a situation of complete panic. You lose control. Maybe you start crying, screaming, or you feel like paralyzed. And this is a situation in which you are extremely vulnerable. You know, around us, demons are flying just like flies and mosquitoes, but they cannot enter us because there's no open door. But when we are in that state of panic, they just walk in because we do not have any resistance. We have no control, so we don't control any open doors. They just walk in, and I would mainly identify those spirits as spirits of fear. So let's give a few examples. They come a bit from real life. Once a man came to our ministry, and so this is what he said. He said, you know, I want to divorce my wife. She's not a believer. I want to divorce her. And we reacted, hey, wait a minute. We are not the lawyer's office. That is next door. This is for prayer. He says, well, in fact, I want you, because I want you to confirm that I can have a divorce. I want you to give me security that I can do that divorce, which is a bit weird. You know, how should we do that? Do we have that authority? So we said, well, let's skip this for a moment. We're first going to prophesy over you. And so when we started prophesying, all our prophecies, there were three of us, were about fear, about extreme fear, 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 fear. After we finished the prophecies, I asked him, well, God is just speaking about fear. Please tell us about your fear. He said, well, I know exactly what God is speaking about, because when I was a young boy, I fell in the river. I couldn't swim, so I drowned. And one can say I died. I got unconscious, so I don't remember the rest of it. I mean, I remember the extreme fear when I couldn't breathe and I couldn't get to the surface. And I remember that it was terrible, feeling how my lungs filled with water. So one can say he had the experience of death. And some people came and jumped in the water after him. And at some point they found his body and brought him ashore. And did mouth-on-mouth breathing, mouth-on-nose breathing. And so they reanimated him. So he came back to conscience. He said, but I wasn't the same person after that. I wasn't the same person after that. My life was characterized by fear. Not only fear for water, not only fear of death, but fearful everywhere. Fear, fear. After that, I was a very insecure person up to now. And so I said to him, well, I think we have got the main reason for your problems, because that's what God is talking about. We have to deal with the fear. You had a traumatic event in your life of such an order that it brought you to the point of death. I mean, you still could be reanimated, but you had the full experience of death. So that's not a small trauma. It's a very big trauma. And because the boy, when he was a boy, he had not sinned. He was not guilty of anything. Nobody pushed him in the water, so he didn't need to forgive someone. We just commanded the spirits of fear that entered him on that occasion to get out of his life. Any spirit of fear of death, get out of him. There was no manifestation. But after that, he managed to reconcile with his wife, and they're still married. So the spirit of fear brought him under such a level of stress all the time that he couldn't cope with the normal marriage problems. And so it saved the marriage. I can give you another example. A man was brought to our healing room with severe depression, even suicidal attempts. And so when I asked him when that all started, he didn't want to talk about it. And his wife says, well, before it started 1.5 years ago, my husband had a traffic accident. It was a very rainy day. It was dark. There was a lot of reflection of lights on the road. So my husband didn't see that in the middle of the road was a kind of barrier. Because of all the light reflections, he didn't see that. In his car, the 4 business partners. And so they were going to some restaurant to have dinner, business partner. And so he hit that obstruction in the middle of the road. And the car fell over, rolled over quite a few times. My husband was severely wounded, but the 4 men, the passengers in the car, all died. And so after my husband recovered, was rehabilitated from his wounds, he had to face court because, the judge wanted to establish how far he was guilty on the death of the 4 men. And so in the courtroom are the 4 widows looking at him like, you were at the steering wheel because of your mistake, because of your misjudgment. Our husbands died. That situation, first of all, the accident. When you have such an accident, you wish that you had never been there. You wish you could reel the movie backwards, like it didn't happen, but you can't. Then he had to face the widows that were looking at him with accusing, tearful faces, and it simply was too much. He fell in a deep depression. I could understand that, but this case is so traumatic that it brought in him the spirit of fear. And so we talked, we prayed, and we helped him to forgive himself. I mean, it wasn't his fault, really. One could say yes or no, but to forgive himself, to receive forgiveness from God, to forgive himself, and also get rid of that spirit of fear that came in him when he faced the widows and when the accident happened. So for him, that was also a big improvement. So another traumatic event is when a child witnesses their parents fight. And so I have ministered to quite a few people who saw it, who saw how their father beat the mother, how the father ran after the mother with a knife, how the father kicked the mother until she was bleeding, laying on the floor, unconscious and still kicking her. And so this, when a child sees that, the foundation of safety for a child is gone. This person cannot establish a healthy identity. That person will always be insecure and have fear issues. So seeing this, your father who is drunk or not drunk, beating up your mom, you're not the same person after that. And so a spirit of fear has to be expelled. I'll give you an example. We got an invitation in some country, I won't mention which one, to come and pray for a girl that had nightmares. Girl was around 12 years old, and she had nightmares every night. And already several pastors had prayed for her, and that would help for a week or maybe 2 weeks, and then the nightmares would come back. So we were invited also to minister there. And so I came there, and first of all, I asked the parents, when she has this nightmare and she wakes up, what is she saying? Well, then she says to us as parents, you're not going to leave me, you're not going to leave me, are you? And I said, okay, that is a very important indication. She is afraid that you might separate, that you might leave her, so there must be a reason for her to have those kind of thoughts. And in her, obviously, is a demon of fear. So I asked them, in the past, did you ever have domestic violence? And the man looked down, he says, yeah, when I was not a Christian. Yeah, I've beaten up my wife. I didn't love her. That's true, but that all changed since we became believers. Mm-hmm. I said, well, it's funny that half a year ago, the nightmares started. Has there been an incident? Did you beat your wife again? Well, his eyes went down. And yeah. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that right away? Yeah, because you didn't ask me. So obviously he was very ashamed. And so what had happened to his daughter grew up seeing the parents fight. Then the father repented, became a believer. But recently, half a year ago, he again beat up the mom. And that caused her to have nightmares every night. And this is not just psychological. It's a demon of fear. So I told the parents, I said, okay, we're going to expel a demon of fear from your daughter. But before that, I want you to do your part. So we're going to invite your daughter in. And I want each one of you to make a vow. I want you to renew your marriage vows and say to each other, like, I love you, always love you, never leave you. And this kind of fighting won't happen again. And I said, I want you to say that, to proclaim that loud in front of your daughter. Because you're the one that caused the problem, so you're also the one that's going to solve the problem, next to the spirit of fear that we're going to expel. And so they both nodded that they agreed. So I brought the daughter in, and the mother said to her husband, he said, I love you, I will always love you, I'll never leave you, I'll serve you, I'll honor you, and there won't be that fighting anymore. And so now it was the turn of the father. And I said, okay, now it's your turn. And he did not look at his wife. He looked at his daughter and told her, I love you, I'm not going to leave you. I said, you have to talk to your wife. He refused. He simply refused. He did not intend to love his wife. And of course, we cast out the spirits of fear from the daughter, but I'm not sure if she would be completely healed as long as her father refused to take a different attitude. So, I give you another example of such a spirit of fear. A woman came to me and she said, with hearing aids. She says, Pastor, I have a great problem hearing, even with those hearing aids that are the best that are available. and I put them as loud as possible, but my hearing is seriously disturbed and I have a big problem hearing. Just when you talk to me, I can still hear you, but when there are more people talking, it's just a lot of noise and I can't distinguish anything. And you know, but when I'm listening, I always try to hear from God, and it's like God pulls away a curtain and suddenly I know. I said to her, was there domestic violence in your family? And she looked at me very surprised and she said, yes. I said, did you see your father beat up the mother? Yes. I said, did you hear your mother scream? She says, I'll never forget to hear her scream when my father kicked her with his boots. I can never forget it. And then I said to her, at that moment, did you say to yourself, I don't want to hear anymore? And she looked at me with big eyes and said, how do you know? I said, well, that's what you said. Even if you were a small child, you said, I don't want to hear anymore. And the point is, the devil, the spirit of fear, heard it and thought, I can help you. I can make you deaf. And that is what happened. So traumatic events can be very destructive. Give you one last story about this. A female pastor met me and she said she had a lot of problems with fear. Fear of death. And she said, you know, when in the evening I'm on my bicycle and I pass by a graveyard, I feel so horrible, like as if the spirits of the death are following me. So I chase my bicycle, I ride as fast as I can to pass that place. She said, but my whole life is characterized by fear. Whenever I need to preach, before that I'm very nervous. In fact, my life is permanently in fear, and even fear of death, that I might die and something might happen to me. Again, I was listening, at the same time listening to the Holy Spirit. And so I asked her, was there domestic violence in your family? And she said, yes. I said, was there domestic violence between your father and your mother when she was pregnant of you? Her eyes got really big. She said, my mother told me that when she was pregnant with me, my father kicked her in the belly with his boots. I said, and that's it. At that moment, when your father didn't care and could have killed you, overdoses of death, the spirit of death and the spirit of fear entered you, even if you were not yet born. But you know, the unborn child feels and is very vulnerable. So that is what happened to you. And so we dealt with it. She forgave her father in the name of Jesus. We commanded the spirits of fear of death that entered during that traumatic event to leave her, and her life was changed.